Mr. Leite's in the house, his house. Welcome, Chargers. We are here today to learn how to mod an iPod mini. Yes, an iPod mini in 2020. Some of you may be asking, what's an iPod? Others may be asking, why an iPod? Well, we're going to try to talk about these things today. Well, most of you probably use your phones to stream music, and you're not really familiar with the idea of collecting music. But a lot of people like music. I'm one of them. And I like to collect music, my favorite bands, favorite songs, favorite genres. So one of the ways that you can do that is by buying CDs. Well, the bad thing about CDs is that if you want to listen to it on the road, you can either stream, and the quality is not very good if you're streaming, especially if you're streaming from a regular service like Spotify or Apple Music. You can stream high resolution files, but then you have to pay a bunch of money every month. So some people choose to buy CDs. They transfer the CDs to the computer, and then they can carry the music with them on an iPod. Well, here are some iPods. I know, they look really strange. Some of you are probably seeing them for the first time. But let me tell you a little bit about them, and you'll understand why we're doing this with the iPod mini. Back in 2001, you know I'm a historian, so I'm going to have to talk a little bit about history. Back in 2001, Apple revolutionized the world with the first iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket. Before this, you could probably only carry 30 songs. Some players allowed you to carry 40 songs, but it's 1,000 songs because it has a hard drive inside. A 5 gigabyte hard drive. For the time period, this was revolutionary. It's got a scroll wheel. It's physical, it actually spins. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it actually spins. It's got these buttons. This is in 2001. 2002, second generation iPod. This is a touch wheel. It doesn't physically spin anymore. So Apple created a very nice user interface. And this one's a 10 gigabyte. You could get one, I believe, in 15 gigabyte model. This is in 2002, only 1 year later. 2003, look how much thinner this is. This is the third generation iPod. This model holds 10 gigabytes. I believe this one you could get up to 40 gigabytes. But some people consider this to be the first iPod Touch. You've probably heard of iPod Touch, or iTouch as some people say, because there are no physical buttons on this one. They look like buttons, but actually you just touch them. You don't have to press them. As well as this center button here, it's not a button, it's just a touch sensor, as is the scroll wheel. Fourth generation iPod in 2004. This is the famous click wheel, because in addition to being able to control this way via touch, you can actually click it. So they did away with those 4 previous buttons, and now you have the buttons built into the wheel. Fifth generation iPod. Some people consider this the best sounding iPod of all of the iPods they ever made. Touch wheel, more memory. You had a 30 gigabyte, a 60 gigabyte, and an 80 gigabyte model of this one. 80 gigabytes holds a lot of songs. And this one has a color display. You can actually watch video. It's called iPod Video, 5th generation. This brings us to a huge moment in human history. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. This is in 2007, 2 years after the iPod Video, the iPhone was introduced. This is the very first iPhone. It looks familiar to you probably, because it kind of looks like today's iPhones. The first one introduced that home button. Look at the back. Looks a little different than what we have now. This is for the antenna. But it's basically a phone as you know it. It revolutionized the world because for the first time you could have the internet in your pocket. Okay, before this moment you didn't really have the internet available with web browser, full web browser. And in addition to that, the reason why I put this here is that Apple called this the best iPod they ever made up to this point, because it had everything that these iPods did built into the phone, which is what you know now, your music app. Okay, your music app started here with the iPod. That same year, a little later that year, Apple introduced the 6th generation iPod and the iPod Touch, which some of you probably owned at one time or another. And later on you got your own phone, and now you don't need an iPod anymore. So what is this iPod mini that we're going to be talking about today? The iPod mini, as the name implies, is a mini iPod. It was actually introduced right here, right after the 3rd generation iPod. They saw that there was this problem. If they wanted to make it smaller, they would have to get rid of these buttons here. So they invented the click wheel. It's a wheel that you click. That same year as the 3rd generation, that technology was applied to the 4th and 5th and 6th generations. Okay, so we're talking about a revolutionary product made to compete with high-end players, very small players back then. Okay, most players cost $200 and would only hold 40 songs. This cost $249 and could hold 1,000 songs. So it was much better than what came previously. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be playing with this iPod mini. I bought this on eBay, and you could, if you don't own one already, maybe you can see if somebody in the house owns one. They probably do. If they don't, you can get one very cheap on eBay. I got this one in the box, free shipping, for $25. So you're not looking at a huge investment if you're interested in collecting music using an iPod mini in 2020. So iPod mini, 6 gigabytes, 1,500 songs. Let's see what's in this box, and then we'll see what we're going to be doing with it. Okay, iPod mini. Haha, there it is. It's a blue iPod mini, 6 gigabytes, 2nd generation, made in 2005. It's not color, okay? The screen is regular black and white. So we're gonna put this to the side, and we're gonna remove the accessories that came with it. We have a cable to sync. This one came with a case. Normally it wouldn't come with one, but the previous owner had this, so they included it. And this is the belt clip that comes with it. Okay, so you can just mount it like that and carry it with you. Okay, so what exactly are we going to do? We're going to be modifying, we're going to be modding this iPod mini so that instead of only being able to carry 6 gigabytes of music, we are going to be installing a 128 gigabyte drive here. So that's a lot of songs, and hopefully you'll see how easy this is, and you can start modding your own iPods, maybe not just this one. I have a series of iPods here that I've modded. This is a 4th generation iPod that I modded with a 128 gigabyte solid state drive. This is a 5th generation iPod that I modded. The original had 80 gigabytes. This one has 1 terabyte. So a lot of songs and videos. This is an iPod Nano. It's another model that I modded. I didn't change the storage, but I changed the faceplate and other things, the battery. I'm currently working on another iPod, a 7th generation iPod that's going to have 4 terabytes total. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We're going to have to open it up, and disassemble it. We're going to replace the hard drive. There's a physical hard drive in here. It's tiny. We're going to replace it with a solid state drive. We're going to go ahead, since we opened it, we're going to change the battery. We got a new battery so we can, they'll last longer. And then we'll put it back together and test it out. Okay, so first things first, what do you need to do this job? Here are the parts and tools that you'll need. You need a spudger, so I have a couple of them here so we can test them out. You'll need a screwdriver because there are 2 tiny screws that we're going to have to unscrew. A jimmy tool, preferably very thin. This is to remove this plastic cap from the top and the bottom. This is the trickiest part of the whole thing. It seems like the easiest one, but it's probably the one that's going to take the longest, because we got to be very careful not to damage the borders here and the corners. You'll need a new battery, which you can get on eBay for about $6. You'll need an iFlash SD card or IDE to SD card converter, and I'll show you once we open the iPod why we need this adapter. And an SD adapter. If you have an SD card, 128 gigabyte SD card, you can use that. In my case here, we have a 128 micro SD card. So we're going to get this, put that in this thing, and then this thing in here, and then this in there. So, and some electric tape, and you'll see why we'll need that once we open the iPod. So let's get started. iPod mini, it's off. Place it on the hold position so that you don't accidentally click something and it turns on. Okay, so let's see if we can get this thing open. Insert this very carefully. As I said, this is the trickiest part. It's probably going to take a little bit for us to be able to open this thing. Just got to be careful not to damage it. Here you go. This is glued in. That's what makes it so difficult to remove. So once you remove it, don't clean out the glue, because you still need this glue to keep this together. So put that to one side, and then we're going to try to open this other side. Hope you can see this. You're going to hear some clicking because it's the plastic. There you go. Let's try this once more. Seems to be working right here. The bad thing about these color iPods, except for the silver one, is that any damage that you make here, you can see it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it is a little damaged. So let's see if we can get this up enough to place the spudger in there. Almost there. You got to be careful with these tools too. I was supposed to have recorded this video earlier in the summer, but I cut my finger and couldn't quite hold on to the tools that I needed to open this, so I had to wait until my finger was better. Now let's see if we can loosen the other side. As I said, this is the trickiest part. It's the one that takes the longest out of this whole thing. Come on, you work. door almost opened. Okay, here we go. Gotta be careful not to break it. Okay, now we're going to use this pudger. Okay, should be looser now. Gotta be patient. Okay, let's use this other tool here, a little firmer. Okay, we're almost there. Come on, iPod. Wow, this glue is very good. There you go. It's coming off. I don't want to bend this too much because we'll have a hard time closing it later. There you go. Aha! We got it. Look at all that glue. So you want to keep that glue there because you'll need it. Okay, now we have two little screws that we need to remove. Your Phillips screws. There's one. And there's two. Be careful for it not to fall inside. Okay, this is another tricky part, but it shouldn't be as difficult as opening it. You have this bracket that holds everything inside. It's stuck to a groove on both sides of the iPod, so we need to pry one side and see if we can make it, okay, see how it damages the anodization? So let's not use that tool anymore. Let's see if we can, almost, come on. This side is out. Now let's try the other one. There you go. Now the other side. On this side, we have to be very careful. There's a connector cable right underneath the bracket. So we've got to be careful not to damage it. It's the connector that allows you to connect this with the click wheel. So being very careful. Maybe we could let's try it this way. Okay. This might work. How about we use this one now? There you go. We got it. That's the connector. We need to disconnect that. But we got to be very gentle because it's a very sensitive component, and I've seen videos of people breaking it so easily. So best way to do it is just to try it a little bit at a time. Very gently. Just pull it up a little bit at a time, gently. Because you don't want to break this. Okay. There you go. We got the connector off. Now what we do is we push all of this out. The scroll wheel is, or the click wheel is here. If you want to replace it, all you need to do is just push it down and out through the bottom. We don't need to replace it, it's still in good shape, so we'll just keep it there. So we put that to the side. This is the inside of the iPod mini. This is the battery, and this is the micro drive. It's an actual physical hard drive. So we're going to be replacing these two parts. I like to use something on my desk that will protect the screen. See, we're going to have to place this upside down or front side down. Okay, so first thing we do is we disconnect the battery. We gently remove it like that. The battery has some tape and other things protecting some components from the inside of the iPod mini. So we want to keep those there. This little tape here. Let's tape it that way. Okay. So we got this battery. And we got the replacement battery. As you can see, the replacement battery has a cable that's a little bit longer, but that's okay. So we're going to be replacing that after we replace the drive. Okay, to remove the drive, first we need to remove all this tape that's holding it in place, because the connector is a little longer than that little part that the tape is covering. So I remove the tape, and then you gently hold this part here. Hope you can see it. Okay. And here we have the hard drive. It's a micro drive, IDE, and check this out, how our adapter has the same number of pins. So we're going to be using this, it fits right in. This is one of the cheapest mods that you can make as far as iPods are concerned. I'm removing this because we want to use these rubber boots. And they're quite sticky. There you go. Now you see what we're going to be using tape for. Okay. So that's a little tiny hard drive. It is working perfectly, so if you do this mod, you can actually sell this on eBay. Some people buy it. Okay, a 6 gigabyte micro drive. Somebody may have a 4 gigabyte iPod mini and they want to upgrade it. You can do that. Okay, so now for the fun part. First, let's install the new hard drive. So we got our micro SD card, 128 gigabytes. Doesn't have to be a very fast card, because for the time, you know, speed wasn't that important. But this is a good card. It's a Samsung. It is formatted for MS-DOS FAT32, which is a Windows format. Makes it easier for this to recognize the memory. So we insert the micro SD card into the SD adapter, the SD adapter into the iFlash adapter. And then this goes in here. We just got to be very careful with the pin alignment. Okay, so if I can see this correctly, this should be it. Okay, you press it together gently. Okay, see how that fits perfectly? So what we do now is we install these rubber boots back on. This will help keep the drive in place, keep it from moving around. Let's see if I'm putting this on right. Oh, it's really sticky. This is funny. Okay. And then this one. You can see the glue. Okay. Well, you know what? We probably don't even need these things. Let's take them out. I've done this on another iPod mini and I didn't use it. It's too sticky. Let's use the tape. If I can find it. There you go. Look, there's still glue in my fingers. Okay. So we'll need about this much tape. What we want to do is we want to keep this inside and not moving, because if it comes off, it's going to malfunction. You're going to have to open the iPod mini again. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep that together. And the tape will give it a little bit more volume and keep this from moving around. There you go. We'll hold that in place. Next step, the battery. So double check the way the battery was installed previously. Okay. It looks like it was like this. So you want the cable to be in the same corner. So we install the battery over there and then we click it in place. Be gentle with this cable and when you're inserting this, because it can break very easily. My fingers are all sticky. And there you go. Okay, now we can test it to see if it's working. For that, we'll plug it in and see what happens. Oh, that's a good sign. See? It knows it's the iPod mini. Do not disconnect. I have iTunes open on my computer, and now you can already see the iPod mini over here. So we're going to click on it. It takes a little bit to load. Hopefully it's going to say set up your iPod or something like that. And if you look at the storage up here, look at that, 128 gigabytes. You can already see there's a larger drive in there. Since it's an older device, sometimes it takes a while for iTunes to be able to read it. be very patient with this step because it's trying to read the hard drive and it will start formatting it. Oh, there you go. Setup untitled. When we click open in Finder, it opens a Finder window and then you get started. And after a few seconds, you'll see the iPod. There you go. It's got software at 1.4.1 installed, which is the latest software for this iPod mini. And then from here you can sync your music and you can do other things. So it is working. We're going to go ahead and eject this iPod. Eject. There you go. So we're going to be unplugging. It's going to reset. Now we need to reassemble it. Let's put it all back together. Just reverse steps of what we've done. There's a groove on the top. You do not want to insert this on the top because that's where the click wheel goes. So just being careful not to put it in there. Gently insert it back in. And don't force anything. If there is resistance, stop and go back. What I do is I use this tool here and I gently guide, pressing it down gently so this part here won't get stuck on the click wheel. I don't know how much you can see. Okay, gotta be very careful. See, that cable here. Be careful with that cable because it is a little long. You don't want the battery or anything moving around. This sometimes happens. The little rubber, or it's an adhesive protection for the screen sometimes gets stuck when you're trying to put the iPod back in. So if that happens, just take it out and try again. Okay, just pressing it down. Yeah, it is getting stuck there. And I think it's because of this cable. It's a little bit too long, but that's fine. We'll just gotta have patience. If this falls off, don't freak out, by the way. It's very easily reinstalled. There you go. Yeah, this little rubber thing here is getting stuck. It's a good thing you're seeing this happen because it's very likely to happen with you too. Oh, there you go. And it's in. So all we have to do now is put these screws back on. Okay, now that that's in place, we're going to reattach the click wheel cable very gently. Gotta be careful so that will fit in there without having to force it. And then we'll put that bracket back in. This can be a little tricky, but it's not as difficult as removing it. Place one side along the groove, and then using a firm tool, let's use this one here, or maybe this. There you go, that side is in, and this is the tricky side because the connector is here. Just a little bit more. There you go. So we got the bracket inside. Now we replace this. The bottom cap is in. There you go. And the top one, just make sure your hold position is the same as the little knob here, or the little switch. See, that's not on hold. That's on hold. You want it to be in the same position. And there you go. We got a 128 gigabyte iPod mini modded. So if you'd like to know more about modding iPods, you can look up several YouTube videos. They show you how to do this with several models. I might be doing another video maybe, who knows? Maybe even starting a club on campus, iPod modding club. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you in the fall.